As somebody who works in the community sector, I really do know how hard it is to find time amongst all the busyness, the funding proposals and client and staff management, and all the things that we do every day, to find some time to step back, to give ourselves the chance to see the big picture, to climb the mountain and view the horizons of possibility, and to imagine what things we need to do in order to change ourselves, to get ourselves on the right path. But it's so important that we take time to do that. As the conference program says, and as has really been affirmed by a couple of our speakers already in the conference this morning, the community sector, the community, holds the values of our society, and we hold those in our hands, and it's an honour to do that, but it's also an awesome responsibility, and we need to take it seriously. We can't afford to sit back and just let others set the agenda for us. And really, that's what this session now is about. What we need to do better, to be better communicators and better influencers. How do we get our message to stand out from all the other noise? How do we seize the power and use it for good rather than just selling people stuff? To help us learn more about that, it's now my great privilege to welcome Jo Lim and her panel. Jo is the acting CEO of ALDA, the body that oversees the .au domain names. If your website is .org or .com.au, Jo's kind of your boss, at least in that domain. Jo has been with ALDA since 2001, and prior to that worked in government policy, specialising in communications and IT issues, including a stint as an advisor to the Communications Minister. I'm going to hand over to Jo now to chair the next session and to welcome and introduce her fellow panellists. Could you please make them welcome?
Thank you, Jo. And I'd like to thank Dennis and Kathy and everyone at our community for agreeing to host today's session as part of the conference program. This is my second year in a row now on the stage here, and it's a great thrill for me to be back. This is such a fantastic conference, as I'm sure you all agree. Now, after the amazing sessions we had this morning, we're going to be a little less philosophical and a little bit more practical. As Jo mentioned, what we want to talk to you today in this session is about communications. So as workers in the community sector, organisations that are active there, you all have really important messages to be communicating to your clients, your stakeholders and other people that you want to engage with. And the purpose of this session is to talk about how you can use online video as a really effective way of doing that. So in the online world, content is king. And as increasingly sophisticated internet users, we are very good these days at finding and filtering content that interests us or excites us, entertains us, ideally all of those things at the same time. With over 1 billion websites on the World Wide Web and around 1.9 million of those in the .au domain space alone, producers of online content face a massive challenge in just grabbing people's attention, let alone engaging with them in a meaningful way. So whilst you should never put all your eggs in one basket, and you do need to incorporate a variety of different content types in your online presence, we believe that online video, is one of the most effective and potentially the most cost-effective ways of engaging with your stakeholders and the people that you're trying to communicate with. So what we're all going to do today is all four of us are going to show you an example of a video that we use within our own organisations. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to throw open to the floor for questions and comments and hopefully have quite an interactive discussion and conversation among ourselves about these concepts. So to get us started, I'd like to play a video that my organisation produced a few years ago now, but it remains one of our most popular videos based on the number of YouTube views. Could we have the first video, please?
I'm planning Australia Day, Chris.
Yeah?
I've got a Barbie, Aussie flags, lamingtons, and I'm hiring a koala for the day.
Okay, is that legal?
It's just sponge and chocolate and coconut.
No, I meant the koala. But you're getting a .au domain name as well.
Huh?
Well, you're a proud Aussie, so you should have a .au name for your business. Australians are more comfortable dealing with Aussie businesses on the net, so naturally we feel a closer bond to .au.
So what should I do now?
It's really simple. Go to outer.org.au and click on this link, and then it will be all so easy to understand.
.au? Find out why you should at outer.org.au.
Okay, so as you can see, we decided to take a fairly quirky, light-hearted approach to what would otherwise be a fairly dry subject matter of talking about .au domain names and why you should have one. So in terms of cost, we had to pay, obviously, for the creative work and the video production, and that was several $1,000s. But the voiceover was done by our CEO at the time and a friend of his, so we saved there. So always use in-house talent if you have any. That's a good tip. And so whilst that video has had quite a lot of views by our standards, I'd be lying if I told you that had gone viral. But, you know, going viral is obviously the holy grail of online video. Everybody wants their video to go viral. And we've all probably seen examples of viral videos, so videos that your friends have emailed or shared to you and said, you've got to see this video. Or those videos that actually make it into mainstream media and get played on mainstream media because they've gone viral. So what makes a video go viral? A guy called Dr. Brent Coker, who is an expert in internet marketing strategies at the University of Melbourne, has recently published a book about this. And he says that the key to a video going viral is its shareability. It's one of those made-up words that Waleed was talking about, shareability. So what makes something shareable? So Dr. Coker says that videos which provoke an emotional response in the viewer are the most powerful, especially those that take the viewer on an emotional journey, so from sad to happy or from happy to sad. And that was done famously in the Save the Children Syria video. Does anyone know what I'm talking about there, called Most Shocking Second a Day? I chose not to show it in this session because it's really quite sad. I defy anybody to watch it without the tears coming into their eyes. It shows a little girl in London, I think, or in the UK, celebrating her birthday, and then fast forwards the year through her life where civil war comes to her country. And the point is to show that that's what Syria was like before civil war came to their country. And at the end, she celebrates her next birthday in hospital, wounded, with bombs falling and so on. And it's called Most Shocking Second a Day. That was viewed 21 million times within 5 days after Save the Children released it, and it increased the subscriptions to their YouTube channel by 1,000%, apparently. And they launched a sequel just this month called Still Most Shocking Second a Day, which takes the little girl on the next year of her life where she becomes a refugee. It's really quite amazing. Google it, Save the Children Syria videos. So other important factors in shareability include telling your story in an authentic voice and creating genuine affinity with the viewer by using real people telling their real life stories. And I think the videos that some of our speakers are going to show today demonstrate that really well. So if you think about these key factors of shareability, the emotional journey, authentic voices, it's really no surprise then that the community sector and not-for-profits are in many ways better placed to use online video than commercial organisations who, as Joe said before, just want to sell us stuff. This is borne out by recent statistics that we had a look at within the .au domain space, which shows that there is a higher percentage of websites within the org.au, asn.au, gov.au and edu.au spaces, so these are government, education and not-for-profit websites. There's a higher percentage of those using online video on their websites than in the com.au and net.au spaces, which are for commercial organisations. So that was actually quite surprising to us when we found it, but it sort of makes sense when you think about the use of online video and why you would use it. Okay, so before I throw to our panel, I'll just mention a few more stats about the impact of online video that we can all think about. According to YouTube, they receive more than 1 billion unique visitors each month, 1 billion, who collectively spend more than 4 billion hours watching video. So that's a hell of a lot of cat videos that are going on YouTube. What are all these people doing with their time? According to Envisia, viewers retain 95% of a message when they see it in a video, compared with 10% of a message when they read it in text. For me, that's a really interesting statistic and something that we should all be bearing in mind when we're thinking about our communication strategies. According to Forrester research, it's 50 times easier to achieve a page 1 ranking on Google with a video on your homepage. And finally, according to Invodo, 92% of mobile video viewers share their videos with others. So they see something on their phone and they immediately share that with somebody else. That's become a really common behaviour, especially among younger people. And again, you want to find out how do you tap into that so that your video is one that people watch and then immediately share. Okay, I'd now like to introduce our first speaker, Georgie Harman, who is the CEO of Beyond Blue, and I'm sure I don't need to say much more about Beyond Blue. Everyone would know what that organisation is and does. Georgie was appointed as the CEO of Beyond Blue in May 2014. She has significant and broad-ranging policy and service delivery experience in the community, public and private sectors in Australia and the United Kingdom. From 2006 to 2012, Georgie worked at the Commonwealth Department of Health, where she had national responsibility for Australian mental health, suicide prevention and substance misuse policy and programs, including those targeting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. She was one of the architects of the 2011 cross-portfolio National Mental Health Reform Budget Package. And at the same time, as if that wasn't enough, she was responsible for the early strategy and development of legislation to introduce plain packaging of tobacco products in Australia, which, as we know, was a world first. Georgie has also worked in the community sector and in private enterprise. She came to Australia in 1999 to be the inaugural Executive Director for the Bobby Goldsmith Foundation in Sydney, Australia's first and largest independent HIV/AIDS charity. She's also worked extensively overseas, particularly in non-government organisations in London. Please welcome Georgie.
Thanks, Jo. It's great to be here. Look, I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about something that's actually really difficult to talk about, but something that we actually don't talk about or communicate enough. As I said, it's a really difficult topic. It's shrouded in shame. It's wrapped up in stigma, but also ignorance and fear quite often wrap themselves around this and stop us talking about it. And I'm talking about suicide. I'm talking about something that kills 8 of us every single day. So every day in Australia, 8 of us will die by our own hand. And there will be around 200 attempts every day in Australia. That's double the national road toll. And I'd actually challenge, I reckon every single one of us in this room has been touched in some way by suicide. We've either lost someone who's incredibly close to us that we love, we've worked with someone, we've been to school with someone who's died by suicide. So 8 a day, double the national road toll. And we don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. How we talk about suicide is just as important as how often we talk about suicide. And the videos that I want to share with you today give you a little glimpse into how Beyond Blue communicates to the general public about suicide and suicide prevention. And we always work from the starting point of first do no harm, because this is a difficult subject. And we also, every single one of our videos ends with a message of hope and recovery, and there's a call to action of somewhere that someone can go to. So we need to make communication about suicide engaging. We need to make it safe. We need to make it normalising, something that's really abnormal, something that is incredibly difficult to conceive as normal. We need to make it feel like the cause of any other kind of death. And it's something that we need to make non-stigmatising. The word committing suicide harks back to the days where to die by suicide was actually an illegal act. So the language that we use in our videos is also really important. But what is most important of all is that we use ordinary people who look just like you and me, who've gone through a real experience of suicide, suicidality, self-harm, attempting suicide, losing someone to suicide. Because the power and authenticity of someone using their own words in their own way to talk about their own experience is incredibly powerful. So let's take a look at Emma.
I think I was lucky because the girls at my workplace knew my son. That really helped. And they all attended his funeral. They all came, closed the office and came. I don't think I would have got through those 3 months without them. They never treated me differently. And that was the thing I needed the most, because I felt different. I felt like the whole world had changed.
Okay, so Emma is a person just like you and I. And I think what's incredibly powerful about that video is how she talks really openly about how work and her workplace and her colleagues are absolutely instrumental to her getting over, or helping her to at least function, following the death of her 18-year-old son. Her life will forever be changed. And she says that, I felt my whole life had changed, but they made me feel like it was okay. And this is a very short snippet of a video that's actually quite a long video. That it's not scripted, it's a conversation between Emma and our suicide prevention person at Beyond Blue. And they're just sitting in Emma's house talking. The thing that Emma's video really does, I think, very well is to, and I use this video all the time when I present to CEOs, to boards, to leaders, to industry leaders. It's a conversation starter and a showstopper. And I guess my key message for these leaders in industry is, don't wait to lose an employee to suicide before you come and get some help about how to build a mentally healthy workplace, how a workplace can actually play a role in suicide prevention. So Emma's reaction is incredibly normal. She's in pain, she's experiencing grief, she's incredibly sad. But then as life goes back to normal, people don't know what to say to people like Emma. But in her workplace, she had colleagues who actually made it part of her recovery. They talked to her about her son. She actually had a card system, red, amber and green. And on a red day where she actually couldn't talk about her son, she just put her red card on the top of her desk. And that was a strategy that she worked out with her colleagues. So again, the power of communication, the power of someone telling their own story. And it's an incredibly powerful video that I encourage you to have a look at. So her old normal is replaced by a new normal. And I guess the second video I wanted to show you tries to take the incredibly complex notion that a smartphone can help save a life, and communicates that again using a real person. So we've developed a world-first app. Not that the world needs any more apps, but we've done one. And it's about safety planning. So safety planning in suicidal crisis. So when you're feeling suicidal, quite often you'll sit down with your doctor and you'll actually make a suicide safety plan. What are the things that motivate me to stay alive? Is it my family? Is it my kids? Is it my friends? What are the things that bring me back from the darkness? And who are the people that I need around me to support me? And those are done on paper at the moment with your psychologist usually. So this app actually takes all of that, puts it in your back pocket on a smartphone. And it's shareable, so you can share it with your friends and family. You can share it with your health professional who support you. But it's really about very, very practical advice and how to keep yourself alive, how to motivate someone in that time of crisis. So this is a really hard thing to communicate. So what did we do? We interviewed a couple of people who've been through those kind of dark times. A young guy called Nick and an older man, Peter, who's a writer, and I'll just show you now Peter's video.
I'd very heavily recommend safety plans to people who, particularly people who would indicate to me or I would consider to be in some danger to themselves. I first heard about safety planning with my psychologist, and then it followed a suicide attempt. An important part of my safety plan was identifying people who I would call my inner circle, the most trusted people. It's got to be your personalised plan. It's no good someone imposing that plan and saying, here's some steps you have to do.
So Peter communicates this, I think, really well. It's about you. It's an individual plan. It's about you sharing who you want to share, choosing who you want to share that plan with. I think one of the most powerful things about that video, though, is the unspoken role that his wife, Sue, takes. She's just in the background. She has nothing, she doesn't say anything. But the fact she's there, she's holding his hand on the beach, I think is incredibly powerful. So those are a couple of videos that I wanted to share with you that communicate a very tough, difficult, complex and incredibly sad topic, but one that I think as a community we need to keep talking about and start talking about more. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Georgie, and thank you for showing those videos, which I think really capture that idea of getting real people to tell their own story as a really powerful way of communicating. And the other thing I would say about those videos, particularly the last one, I noticed the music that plays at the back of that is actually quite light-hearted, and I assume that was a deliberate choice so that it's not a doom and gloom type video and not threatening. It's much happier than you would think otherwise, yeah.
It's always got to be about hope.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'd now like to introduce Crystal Barter, who is the founder of Pink Hope. So Crystal's journey began after she discovered that her family's cancer history was due to a gene fault called BRCA1, recently made famous by Angelina Jolie, although I think, Crystal, you're doing a very good job at making it famous yourself. The mutation increases the risk of developing breast, ovarian and other cancers. After years of uncertainty, at age 22, Crystal underwent genetic testing and returned positive for the BRCA gene. At only 25 and with a husband and young family, Crystal made the difficult decision to have a preventative double mastectomy, and she was one of the first Australian women to publicly share her story of preventative surgery, giving a voice, face and awareness to prevention. So while in her hospital bed recovering, Crystal created Pink Hope, born out of her desire to change the face of hereditary cancer prevention in Australia and to offer support to at-risk women and their families. Pink Hope has grown to become a well-known health prevention charity and community that provides support and inspiration to thousands of families and highlights the need to know your risk of breast and ovarian cancer and change your future. Could you please welcome Crystal?
Thank you so much. Obviously, I would love to stand up here and tell you that I come with this huge knowledge base and I've had these amazing jobs, but really Pink Hope was my first real job. I was a 22-year-old mum after watching multiple generations of breast and ovarian cancer in my family. I decided to have a gene test. My little boy was sitting next to me and I got this piece of paper that said, you have a gene mutation that has pretty much nearly killed every single woman in your family. And I held that piece of paper in my hand and I said, what am I going to do with it? I had nowhere to turn, no one to turn to. After 3 years of navigating what little information there was on Google and suffering from insomnia and anxiety every night and overdosing on chamomile tea, which FYI doesn't work, I decided to have my breasts permanently removed. I was 25. I had watched my mum at 36 years of age have her breasts and her ovaries removed, not by choice. I had a nan that had concave chest and her ribs showing. The rest of the women in my family didn't survive. I felt like I had no other choice. So when I was laying in my hospital bed, no boobs, unable to hug my children, I said, this has to end with me. And what do I need to do to change it? I got out my laptop, had no experience on WordPress or HTML, but I taught myself and I built a website. I would like to tell you that it was really easy, but it was so hard. But I think determination and passion is truly what drives and can drive a not-for-profit. I had no, degree. I had a fire in my belly that wanted to change things for other families like myself. I created the organisation with zero funding and I put it under the auspice of a leading organisation because I needed to learn how to run a not-for-profit before I went out on my own, and that was probably the best decision I ever made. When we make our online videos, do you know what budget we have? 0. And that's been from day one. Our videos, probably across all the multiple ones that we've done, have probably been viewed well over 1 million times. It is authenticity. You need to showcase and communicate your not-for-profit or any organisation, whether for-profit or not, with authenticity. We use a combination of influencers. We never pay for celebrities or influencers, and we never will. And we use real people. I think you need to get the balance right, and we hope that we do. So if we can play the video, please.
By visiting pinkhope.org.au, you can use this tool. It only takes 5 minutes out of your day.
I'm getting my friends and family to jump on the Pink Hope website and use the Know Your Risk tool. It gives you a better understanding of your family health history, and it also opens up discussion around your family's history.
And it made me ask some questions to my family, and I approached my aunt and my mum and asked them about our family's history with breast and ovarian cancer, and found out that my great-grandmother actually passed away from ovarian cancer.
I lost my mum when I was 22. She died within a year of her diagnosis. This app is so simple, it's easy. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to find out whether or not you are at high risk of having cancer.
So I felt more empowered in knowing about my own body and my risk. So you never know, the tool really could help save someone's life.
This means a lot to me because my nana had breast cancer. We need to spread the word. We need as many people as we can to do this. Because you don't know who's at risk, and it takes 5 minutes just to do it.
Yeah. So as I said, that video cost us 0. I had a friend who owns a house in Surrey Hills, and it was white and really pretty, and I asked her if we could come over and shoot a video and a campaign. She said, yeah. All those influencers completely donated their time. If I have anyone that asks for money, I said, well, we're not the right organisation for you. Within a few days, that app was used over 10,000 times. So we had over 10,000 women know their risk of breast and ovarian cancer. For a little not-for-profit, we're turning over a few 100,000 if we're lucky, and that is spread across a programs manager and a genetic counsellor, and you can do it. I think, it's knowing what you want to achieve and knowing what your communication message is, and working out how best you can do that. Our campaign, Bright Pink Lipstick Day, has had 327 million media impressions. It's trended on social media every year, and it's literally been at times myself and an intern running the campaign. So I can stand up here and I wish I could hold you a golden card and say, this is exactly how you do it. But at the end of the day, I think the reason that Pink Hope has been successful and the reason why we're able to achieve what we do is because I wake up every day and I look at my little girl and my 2 boys and I say, I'm going to make it happen. And I get up and do it every day. And, that is truly what communication is all about, getting your story out there and telling people why are you doing what you're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal. And again, the use of the jaunty, uplifting music, I noted that too. And the other thing I noted about that video is that you obviously were quite clear about your target demographic, your target audience, which is obviously young women, and you used young women to communicate that message, and I think that's really important too. Okay, I'd now like to introduce our final speaker, Natalie Isaacs. She's the founder and CEO of 1 Million Women. the movement of women and girls who take practical action to fight dangerous climate change by changing the way they live. Natalie is a mother of 4 who ran her own cosmetics company for 2 decades before she had what she calls her climate change epiphany. 1 Million Women was launched in 2009 and under Natalie's leadership has been built from scratch into a movement of over 450,000 women and counting. Natalie is a pioneer in the gender and climate change arena in Australia. Her philosophy for 1 Million Women is that real behaviour change begins with personal action, and that women and girls living privileged lives in wealthy nations like Australia can be powerful leaders of change by acting to cut waste and pollution in their own daily lives. In 2013, the United Nations awarded 1 Million Women as one of 6 women-led grassroots climate action programs selected from hundreds around the world to be highlighted as lighthouse activities for the planet. Please welcome Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me on the panel. I think I'll just start off by saying I'm actually not some long-term green role model, not a climate activist. I used to be a cosmetics manufacturer and my life was really all about overpackaging. And as Waleed was saying earlier this morning, I was that person who tried to get somebody's product off the shelf so I could get mine on, that competitive spirit. But I used to actually think that individual action, meant nothing. I used to think that I used to have my head buried in the sand when it came to climate change, and I never understood the power of the collective. But the very short story, because it's a long story, but the short story is in 2006 I had an epiphany and I just changed. And I realised that climate change was actually all about me. It was all about my family. It was all about my friends. And I just decided to do something about it. And I got my electricity consumption down by 20% and saved a lot of money, and got our food waste down by 80%. And that was it. I decided to start 1 Million Women because I wanted to tell other women my story on how I changed, totally change the way I live. So 1 Million Women is really specific. We focus on what we do in our daily lives, in our households and in our community. And our focus is about how to live a low carbon life, but really how do we all transition to a zero carbon life. And as Joe said, we're now 450,000 in our community, but I have to say when I started 1 Million Women, I actually knew nothing about how to start a movement, how to grow a movement. I didn't even have social media attached to what we were doing. We didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, we never had Instagram, I never wrote a blog. It was a very traditional, we started with a traditional approach. We had a website and we had a launch video, and it really was our only collateral was this video. But the video told our story, told my story really from the heart, and it really was what got us to our first 10,000 members. And then we sliced that video up and made it a community service announcement, which 30 seconds, which we put through mainstream media, television, and we had great prime time spots, and we got thousands and thousands more. But I think that we started to really redefine the way we communicated in mid-2013, so real latecomers to this, and we had to catch up with social media and videos. But we shifted our focus. We shifted everything, our staffing and our resources, and instead of social media being an adjunct to what we did, it actually became a vital and essential piece of the way that we communicated. Our blog went from 500 views a month to 10,000 views a day. And last year our blog was viewed nearly 4 million times, and we're on track this year for it to be viewed 5 million times. Our Facebook reach is around between 3 to 5 million every week, and at any given time we have an engaged audience of 350,000 on Facebook. We don't spend any money on building our reach or our advertising. We did very early on, and we realised that to grow a movement, you really can't pay for it. It must be organic to be able to get interaction and real engagement. You really can't pay for that. But sweeping lifestyle change is a really hard topic, and it's crucial. It's crucial in the mix of things to fight the climate crisis. And we take an overwhelming, complex issue and we break it down. We talk about the key lifestyle issues that are affected by climate change. We talk about health and happiness and well-being and poverty, and we talk about saving money, we talk about saving energy. We talk about the stronghold overconsumption has on us. We talk about the love affair that we're meant to have with our earth, and if we all had that love affair with our earth, the world would be a different place, and government policy would be certainly different. So we make it personal and empowering, and it's actually fundamental to the way women engage. And so, for us, using video and as a way of communicating is it's really essential. It's essential for building our story, for making it personal. We do Facebook live clips, we do in conversation short interviews, we do DIY stuff, we do recipes. We're constantly building our the way that we communicate through a video, and we do have to be able to differentiate what pieces of video we invest in, not that we have much money to invest in, or what we do just in the moment, on the spot, out on our balcony, at the office, live clips to capture the moment. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes we do crowdfunding and put quite a bit into our video content for our campaigns, and realise that we didn't have a good enough strategy behind it to get it out there. So it doesn't always work. And I think the most crucial thing that I have learned, and then this is a constant learning process, is that you can't have video content, a fantastic video, unless you have a strategy for reach. A brilliant video goes nowhere if you don't have reach, and reach is hollow if you don't have good video or content. And I guess that, and there was several videos that I could have shown you today. Our launch video, which has been a timeless video for us that we've had for the last 6 years, was one I was thinking of showing you all. But I've decided to go with our most recent and most successful video that we did just before Christmas. We did it in time for the big Paris Climate Change Conference. We took an old 1980s song by the King of Pop in 1986, Johnny Farnham's You're the Voice, and we transformed it into an anthem from women with a very clear message that only climate action can give us climate hope. And when you look at the video, and it's actually a long clip, and I expect to see a few toes tapping and a few of you wanting to dance in your seats. but it is longer than usual. It's a 5-minute video, and I was worried that it wasn't going to hold people's attention, but we have had now over 1 million views, and that clip has been shared so many times, and I played it at the climate change conference in Paris, and it has been the one piece of video content, the most powerful piece of content that 1 million women has had to build our profile internationally, and it was done on a very small budget. It was everybody did their gave their time for free, and it cost us $13,000 of crowdfunding to get this video up, and no money to give it reach. So. And I'd just like to finish off by saying it's not just the video itself, it's the spin-off from the video. We had layers to it. We made it interactive. We asked all our community through social media to record themselves singing a verse or a chorus and to send it to us, so we uploaded it on Facebook. So our community came along with us. I attended the United Nations Forum and I played it on Gender Day, and women everywhere were singing and dancing, and so it was a glorious way to get a very powerful message out there. So thank you very much, and if we could just play the video and sing and dance along with it.
Chance to turn the pages over. We can write what we want to write. We gotta make ends meet before we get much older. We're all someone's daughter. We're all someone's son. Someone's son. Down the barrel of a gun. Oh, you're the voice, try and understand it. Make a noise and make it clear. Whoa, whoa. We're not gonna sit in silence. We're not gonna live with fear. We know we all can stand together with the power to be powerful. Believe that we can make it better. Yeah, we're all someone's daughter. We're all someone's son. How long can we look at each other?
Thank you. So our goal is to be a global movement, reaching millions of women around the world, empowering them to act on climate change through the way we live, they live. And that clip has really helped us build our profile. And going to the lovely lady from Bendigo's comment earlier today, our goal is to reach women that sit outside of the green belt and bring them along. So thank you.
Thanks, Natalie. I love that video. It's fantastic. All the videos we've seen today have been really powerful and have been really good at communicating the message that they are telling to the people that they need to tell it to. That's the end of our session, I'm afraid. I hope that others have felt similarly inspired by the stories you've heard today from our three fantastic speakers. Please thank Georgie, Crystal and Natalie.